Monday's mid-morning here at Wycombe Sound. Hope your week's going well. I was speaking to a neighbour of ours recently and asking how she was doing. She looked a bit stressed. She said, "Oh, I can't wait for the kids to go back to school." I said, "Oh, the summer holidays have gone quite quick this year." She said, "Have they?" A bit like that. So I thought, I suppose if you have got youngsters and you're keen to get them back to school, then perhaps it did go on a bit. But it does seem I think September certainly seems to come around very quickly. Perhaps it's the same for head teachers. I'm very pleased to say we're joined this morning by Sharon Cromie, who's the head of Wycombe High. A very good morning to you.
Good morning.
Has September come around quickly for you?
Well, it always does. I think when you finish school in July and you think, oh, it's fantastic, there's, 6 whole weeks or whatever ahead of us, and the next thing you know, it's September again. But I think everyone's had a good opportunity to recharge the batteries, and the beginning of September is the most joyous point in the school year because it's everything's ahead of you. So I do love the beginning of a new academic year.
And obviously, we last spoke to you for the A-level results being published. So I guess, again, this must feel like a real sort of return to school on the back of, success of great results.
Yes, it was a very unusual year for A-level and GCSE results this year, and with school assessed grades that we had to submit prior to the summer, and we then had to go through a moderation process, internal and external, wait to hear if any of our grades were challenged, and then we were not allowed to discuss those grades at all with the young people, and then we released them. And this year, unusually, compared to other years, both A-level and GCSE results were released in the same week. So we were delighted for our students. They got the grades they deserved and they've all been able to access the next stage of their education, which is wonderful.
And how have preparations been for the new term? Obviously, with safety being paramount, but I guess that many of the things that you've had to do in the previous academic year obviously still apply now as well.
Yes, well, it feels very different. The last 20 months, we've been putting into place lots of health and safety systems like year group bubbles, one-way systems, sanitisation, face coverings, etc. And of course, we knew the other side of the summer, Colin, that all of this was expected to go. And indeed, that has been confirmed. And it is the most wonderful feeling, I have to say, knowing that our young people can come back and be more like they should be in a school setting, able to move around freely, interact with their peer groups more freely, and learn in the classrooms more easily because the face coverings are not going to be in place. So it just had to take a step back, pause and evaluate what needed to be kept to ensure everyone was safe, come to grips with the new rules around isolation, self-isolation and sickness reporting. And also we had to set up a test centre for the third time. So we've got our asymptomatic test centre up and running, and we are testing year 7s and 12s today with the other year groups throughout tomorrow.
And what's been the reaction to the students? As you say, they must be a real sense of almost freedom, if you like, returning to school.
Yeah. Yes, I think they're delighted. I think it's not to be underestimated just how difficult the last 20 months has been for young people. As adults, we have lots of things under our belt to help build our resilience and our more emotional fortitude. But young people are learning that, and they learn that through their relationships in school, guided by professionals. And it's just been the most extraordinary 20 months, disrupted by national lockdowns, etc. So I think they are delighted to be coming back, to be able to be more free and to build those relationships and to learn in an appropriate manner. So the ones I've spoken to today are just thrilled.
And I guess there are still things that you obviously have to consider in terms of safety. For example, the ventilation. We heard Gavin Williamson speak recently about certain schools perhaps
Yeah.
don't have the correct ventilation that they should, or I guess many schools clearly are sort of old buildings and perhaps not as prepared. But obviously, ventilation is something that's very important still.
It is indeed, and that's one of the things, when I said stop, evaluate, what are we moving forward with? It's very clear that, good personal and organisational hygiene is still important. So people will still be asked to, to sanitise, to be careful if they're sneezing, to bin it, using the NHS logos, etc. But also, you're quite right, ventilation has been a key thing over the last 20 months. And I think we've all learned that. So being outside in the fresh air is important. Keeping classroom windows open is important. And we have to balance that with a comfortable temperature. And of course, what what is comfortable can differ from person to person. So someone might feel they need 28 degrees and someone else is perfectly comfortable at 17 degrees. So I know that during September, the government are rolling out monitors, prioritising first of all, for example, special schools that have higher numbers of vulnerable students, but thereafter we can expect to get these monitors in school to help us make sound judgments about what is sufficient ventilation to balance fresh air with comfortable temperature.
And obviously something else which is very topical at the moment is vaccinations as well, as to whether 12 to 15-year-olds might be vaccinated. I think the sort of the current thought is that they might be, but there's no current sort of benefit to that or kind of thought that should happen. Is that something that you'd like to see done?
Well, it's a tricky one, isn't it? And everyone will have a personal view on it. I think the vaccine programme in the UK has been a game changer for us. Certainly with most adults, double vaccinated in a school environment is extraordinarily helpful because under the new rules, you don't have to self-isolate if you are double vaccinated, which means we have got a much better chance of being able to keep learning and teaching going throughout this academic year, which is something we are absolutely keen to do. So I'm delighted that the staff at Wycombe High School, myself included, are very pro that vaccination, not only for their own safety, but for the safety of the young people in their care. Over the summer, 16 to 17-year-olds have also been invited for vaccination, and I know speaking to some of our students, they have been very keen to do that as well. They see that their parents and other adults around them have needed vaccine passports to travel more easily, and I think as well as the health and safety matter, that is something that they consider important. They're also conscious of and considerate of their family members and grandparents, etc. So everybody wants to play their part. So I know the Joint Council on Vaccine and Immunisations have marginally come down on the side of it being worthwhile for 12 pluses, but have left the final decision to the Chief Medical Officer. But certainly in a school context, it's not just the personal safety of the 12 to 15-year-olds, it is enabling them to stay in school, enabling schools to stay open and not passing this virus on to loved ones. So all in all, I think the vaccination programme gives us all a very, very good chance of being able to return to an open and more free, not just society, but certainly keeping schools open, because if schools do not stay open, Collin, nationally, examinations next summer will be under question.
Of course. Have you had any concerns from parents about their children returning, especially to sort of large groups again?
No, actually. Or maybe that's silence before before the deluge. I think parents are wanting their children to come back to school, to socialise with their friends, to get on with their learning so that they can access the next stages. School opens doors, and schools support young people to be emotionally well and able also. So we know, as every school will have, that there will be some who've struggled with the last 20 months, and we just need to focus on what we can do for them. So at Wycombe High School, we're putting in extra support, both academically for anyone who may have fallen behind, with a scheme of academic tutors, but also additional pastoral support. We have a mental health lead, a large team of counsellors and external agencies. So of course, we do have to work with specialists. We're not medics. So we do work with CAMs and psychiatrists for those who need it. But it's going to be many years before the shadow of COVID lifts. And whilst there's been much innovation and lots of talent, as our GCSE and A-level results have demonstrated, there are some, the more vulnerable, who need more help and support navigating their way through this.
But as you sort of touched on at the beginning, it must be so nice that there's a real sense of positivity and I guess relief in a way as well, that some semblance of normality can return for this September.
Yes, so far the whole sense and ethos in school and the feeling is one of absolute positivity. Everyone is delighted to be back. All the staff have been tested. As I say, we're testing others. It's just a real sense of let's get on with it and let's move forward. Let's see what this year brings. And I know that whatever it brings, as we did last year, we'll work through it methodically, sensibly, and we will do our very, very best by every student.
And as I've discovered locally, parents very pleased for their children to be back as well. And
Yeah.
something else I just did want to get your thoughts on as well, which is a great sort of thing over the weekend. I know several of your Year 9 students have been selected to be a match day reporter for Wycombe Wanderers, and their first assignment produced a 13-0 win, which I must confess my sympathies went to the goalkeeper of the opposition. But fantastic to see them get the opportunity and to do so well, sort of in front of the camera.
Yes, absolutely. Well, football, any sport is a team effort, so the goalkeeper needs to remember that. But yes, fantastic. It's wonderful that the students have this opportunity and to be part of our local community. You know, Wycombe Wanderers hold a very special place in many people's hearts in Wycombe. It's a great team to be associated with. It's great to see female soccer increasing year on year. At Wycombe High School, it's extraordinarily popular. And of course, not everybody enjoys playing soccer, so it's lovely to see these students being involved in reporting on it, raising the profile of it, and spreading the word to get as many young women as possible involved in football. So well done, Wycombe Wanderers, and the students have been tremendous, supported by our comms and marketing director.
No, Wycombe Wanderers under 18s. Wycombe Wanderers win under 18s against Sandhurst was the game that they were reporting on. And it came across. I watched the footage. It came across so well, and it must obviously for doing it for the first time as well must really improve sort of their confidence and sort of picking up other skills like presenting and great to see obviously sort of females in that kind of broadcasting world of sport. And it's really nice to know that they can start at such a young age as well.
Yeah, it's fantastic. Great for their confidence. Great for skills such as being analytical, teamwork, project management, planning ahead, intergenerational conversations, being able to hold their own with whatever person or stakeholder they're talking to. It's really important that they develop these skills. And of course, they've got great role models with people like Isha Gua, who commentates, and a former Wycombe High School student, and Rachel Burden on Radio 5 Live. So there's a great tradition there of Wycombe High School students taking on these roles.
And so inspiring for others as well, other students to see that they're doing that, and perhaps that's something that they'd like to do that they hadn't thought of before.
Yes, absolutely. And they have many opportunities in school to present, produce and, implement news items. There's so much that happens at Wycombe High School. It's a very vibrant community, 1,320 students. And it always amazes me year on year. I think they can't do any more, they can't achieve any more, but they throw themselves into so much. So to be able to get students to report on all of this news and to put it out on Wycombe High TV is just absolutely tremendous. It celebrates success. It shows what each student can do. And because they are reporting on each other, that's that lovely sense of nurturing each other, being proud of one another and lifting each other up, which it makes me very proud.
And just finally, what's some message that you'd like to get across to obviously parents of students at the school, but also I guess the kind of wider community about how Wycombe High is doing currently?
Wycombe High School is doing fantastically well. It's a heavily oversubscribed school, both in Year 7 and for new students joining us in sixth form. We've had over 200 applications to our sixth form. We had to turn away so many wonderfully well qualified candidates because we simply don't have space. So we're working hard to see if we can remedy that. Year 7 is overfull, and so we're doing extraordinarily well as this year's results. And indeed, it's not just about results. For me, it's more about how these young people develop into young adults. And when they leave us academically well qualified, caring and considerate of others, able to take their place as future leaders in society or whatever they choose, we feel really very, very proud. It's a great, great school. I know people will say I'm biased, but come and see us. Go onto the website. We're doing small tours again, something we haven't been able to do for 20 months, and we would love to welcome anyone who wants to come and see our school.
Great to speak to you. Thank you so much indeed for your time.
Thanks ever so much, Colin.
Sharon Cromie, who's the head teacher at Wycombe High School, speaking to us here at Wycombe Sound.
Online, on Radio Player, and on 106.6 FM. This is Wycombe Sound.